I guess I wanted to know, and I legitimately want to know this answer, but it's going to sound like a
Hmm.
really silly question. I kept thinking about how much your character loves the smell of pizza, and I wanted to know, like, if you ever lost the ability to eat food, what would be the most like devastating thing for you? Like, if
Oh
you could not
man.
eat one thing ever again.
I did think about this because with COVID, people losing like taste
Oh
buds.
yeah.
I thought about that because food is such a big part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to my friend about this the other day, and like, I think sushi is probably my number
Mm.
one. If I
Okay.
like didn't, I was if I was unable to eat sushi, I'd be like, why go on? But
Yeah.
no,
That's great.
yeah, I love food.
Okay. Wonderful. Um, that's funny you say that because I was at my day job earlier and there was this coworker that I don't really work with all that often, and he mentioned something about not being able to like smell or
Wow.
taste things in the last like week. And he was like, "Oh, because I had COVID." And he went and we were like, "You had COVID? You didn't tell any of us that you had COVID." He was like, "Oh yeah, I lost my sense of taste and smell for like 2 days." And we're all like
What?
backing away. And I was like, "Do you not want to tell us that? That'd be great."
What? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I would be so pissed.
Yeah. God.
Oh man.
Um, I wanted to know if you think that if Sass is, let me go back. Do you think that Sass thinks he's the smartest person that lives in the house?
100%. 100%. Like that was literally my log line for like the
It's
first
great.
um kind of for the first season. But it's so different for me. Of I've never been a series regular on a TV
Hmm.
show, and when I booked the pilot and then we started shooting season one, Sass was just they were trying to figure him out.
Hmm.
Poor Joe Wiseman. We had these amazing conversations about who Sass is, and then we kind of just like settled. I think it was like episode two. Of just like Sass is just the smartest guy in the room, and he knows it. He knows it. Um, and he wants people to know it too. And so I think that was like my log line for like at least the first part of the season.
Hmm.
I still hold on to it for sure. Even and it's fun to have that, and it gives me a good point of view for some scenes when I don't have too much going on.
Well, also like that makes it. I mean that point of view is very funny if it's A ever threatened or B
Yeah.
if that ever falls apart. Like when
Mm-hmm.
in the first season when the website gets deleted accidentally, like the sort of
Yeah.
like panic is very entertaining for
100%. You see the human behind this facade that he put
Mhm.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess being around for one of the older ghosts,
Mm-hmm.
um you've seen it all, so absorbed as much, so that's probably why.
Exactly.
um yeah. I did want to know, just because I feel like ghosts has felt like a doesn't sound a little twee, but I mean I think that Ghosts has kind of felt like the little show that could. I hate that phrase, but that's a good way to sort of, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know, I just felt like it kept growing and growing, kept getting bigger and bigger.
Mhm.
And I love the like online presence that the show has. I was wondering for you, especially because you said you've never been a series regular before, um, when did you know that it was hitting as big as it did? Just because I feel like that has to be a really surreal experience.
Yeah, it's such a good question to think about because sometimes you just really don't know, especially like we're
Hmm.
all living in Montreal up here shooting. So
Mm.
I just felt always so disconnected from the fans, and we didn't really have any in-person events until later.
Mm.
And I think we had our first in-person event, and I was just like, oh my gosh, people like the show. Like this is really wild. Like
Hmm.
I didn't realize. We just hear numbers and we hear
Yeah.
people commenting on posts, and that's really cool. And I love that. But when you feel that connection in person, I think that's
Mm.
when I was like, whoa, like I think we have something here. This is pretty wild.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm just very, very, very grateful for our fans, and yeah.
I will say that I came to the show a little late. It was all on streaming when I watched it,
Hmm.
and excuse me, I will admit that I watched it in like 3 days. Um,
Nice.
and my husband and I were, he was doing something in DC. It was the first time that I've ever been to Washington, DC. And I remember
Mhm.
he was just like, so what are you gonna do while I'm doing what I'm doing? And I was like, I'm gonna watch Ghosts in the hotel room.
That's great.
Yeah, so he's like, if you're gonna watch Ghosts, that's great, but please go see the sights of our nation's capital
Uh,
or something. Yeah,
that's so funny. Well, I appreciate that.
sure. Um, I have never seen the BBC version of the show. I think it's sort of just like I
Mhm.
love this version so much that
Of
I
course.
feel like I don't feel the need to go watch the other
Hmm.
one. Sure, it's wonderful and hilarious. Obviously,
Hmm.
they did a another version of it. Um, but as far as I know, like there isn't a character like Sass on that version of the show. And I was curious from your
Hmm.
point of view what it was like to sort of create that. I feel like when shows are not remade, but I mean, there's a new perspective on it. And I was curious just from like an actor point of view, what it was sort of like to create that from the ground up. So I feel like that has to be very exciting.
It's incredibly exciting.
Hmm.
And I did watch a little bit of the BBC show, and then
Hmm.
after like I think 6 episodes, I had to turn it off because I was getting way too intimidated because it's
Oh,
such
really?
a good show. It's
Hmm.
so good. Um, and yeah, making a character is so much fun. But I'm from theater, so when I
Oh,
create a character, I know start to end the script, and I know kind of all the information, and I can kind of create something from that. And it's different than this experience. What it was, we were
mhm.
kind of making them on the go, and I had to make some big swings and hope that it aligned with our writers. And there was a
God.
really good conversations that we had about everything, which I'm grateful for. And then we just found him,
Hmm.
and it's been a fun experience, to really feel that character come to life. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I have a theater background myself, so I feel like I
Hmm.
know that sort of perspective of like you have the script, this is what it is,
Hmm.
and you
Hmm.
sort of, you can sort of dive in and build out from it as much. And I feel
Hmm.
like working on a TV show because it is so immediate has to be such a completely different animal than
Hmm.
theater.
100%. It's like there's a lot of similarities for sure,
Hmm.
and things that I have taken from theater and I bring into the show. But there's also things that are just so different. Like we get new pages every day, and you have to just
It's so
adapt.
scary.
And yeah, I know. My memory is getting really fast, and then I'm also really good at like just getting rid of it. Like if
Yeah.
someone were to ask me about a line that we shot last week, I'd be like, I have no idea. I have no idea what you're talking about. So it's definitely been, like season one for me was really learning on the go,
Hmm.
and being very grateful for everybody really helping me, and because I have experience in TV and film, but being a series regular is just such a different beast, and doing
Hmm.
like 18, 22 episodes where it's a lot.
Yeah.
And but it was really fun to really feel that evolution of Sass, and to now be here in season two is, you definitely seeing a lot of new colors come out for him, which is really cool.
Well, the thing that I'm so excited about with season two is I've seen the first episode of season two, and
Mhm.
I was just
Mhm.
so like, as a viewer, I feel like I settled like right back in really well.
Oh,
Like
cool.
it feels like nothing is missed, nothing is sometimes on shows you can tell where there's time in between.
Mm.
Um so the thing that I kept thinking about that was so exciting, I was like, that's gonna add such another layer of like all the different people that are coming in and out. Like
Hmm.
that's going to be so much fun for you guys. Like I imagine that has to be
Yeah.
so much fun for you guys. Okay.
100%. Yeah, we've had some really fun guest stars
Yeah.
this
Okay.
year, and I love how you've seen episode one and we haven't seen
I'm
it yet.
sorry.
Like, I want to see it. That's so fun,
It's
though.
great.
I'm happy you got to see it.
Yeah. Um, I guess something that goes along with what you were saying with theater work, and this may sound like a repetitive question because I've
Hmm.
asked everyone involved with ghosts, just but I'm fascinated with the answer. I think we are sort of living in a renaissance of like network
Hmm.
comedy. But more so than that, I think ensemble network comedy right now is very, very strong. And I guess from your perspective, you can tell me like what you like about that. Is that something that you look for as a performer?
Mhm.
Just because I feel like something like this, or something like Abbott Elementary, or something like Superstore, there's like a specificity to the ensemble work that is a little bit hard to describe.
Mhm.
Whereas the energy is ebbing and flowing, and everyone is giving as well as receiving. I'm sort of rambling. I'm not really asking a very pointed question, but I
No,
was
but
just,
I totally hear you.
yeah, I was wondering, just your perspective on like the ensemble of the show. If you could just comment on that, just because I think it's one of the strongest reasons why the show is so successful.
100%. So to answer that, I first have to say like it was always a dream of mine to be on an ensemble
Mm,
sitcom. Like my
okay.
favorite shows are How I Met Your Mother, Parks and Rec, Brooklyn Nine Nine, um, all these amazing ensemble comedies. And because you realize that it's not just the characters, but it's all the characters that come together is a new
Hmm.
character,
Hmm.
and the different relationships are a new character, and yeah, and when we talk about this a lot in our show, because there are some scenes where it feels like it's Sam and Jay versus the ghosts,
Hmm.
and the ghosts is a character in itself, because sometimes we have to all be in the same point of view. We are all fighting for one thing,
Hmm.
or we're all with Jay, or we're all with Sam, and it's kind of like this amoeba that kind of has to move around, and sometimes it's split, and it's such an energy transfer that happens all the time, and so yeah, we have these conversations a lot of like, okay, group, if you have one line in the scene, you're still part of that ensemble, and your point of
Yeah.
view matters, and it really helps the scene. It helps everything. So yeah, it's the ensemble nature of it
Mm.
is what I love, because again, I'm from theater, and I've been in many an ensemble,
Hmm.
and I love it.
Okay. Well, also sort of going along with that, it's just like you can tell how well, number one, how the characters are defined by the actors, and you can tell how sharp the writing is, because if they weren't defined that strongly, it wouldn't feel like a new dynamic in every sort of like scene. Because you could have a scene with,
Mhm.
I don't know, an interaction with Hetty that would feel different than if you had an interaction with Isaac.
Right.
Even though how somewhat similar those characters can sort of act sometimes, or have that
Yeah.
same point of view. Um, I guess this is a general question, but I did want to know, like, and we sort of touched on it a little bit, but what are you most excited for us to see in season two?
This is always such
General,
a fun
speaking
question.
in generics, of course, because
This is, yeah, talking about season two is always a fun question for me, because I'm always like, okay, don't spoil that. Don't spoil that. Don't
tiptoe
spoil that.
around
Oh,
everything.
yeah, exactly. I'm excited for people to see more about Sasapis's backstory,
Hmm.
and and yeah, just learn more about Sass and his relationships with the other ghosts, and we learn a lot more about him, which is really cool. We open the B&B, which is exciting.
Hmm.
There's so much like really exciting action that happens in this season, so
Okay.
I'm really excited for the fans and for the audience to see what we have in store.
And Sass has Sass offers a obviously a very unique point of view that we don't get from any other character. So I
Mhm.
know that I will say that I spent some time digging around like ghost social media, and everyone is talking about how much they want to know more about like the richness of the backstory.
Oh, cool.
So
That's
I know.
good. That's awesome.
So if you've never done a creepy deep dive like I did over the last like week or so, the fans are very, very excited. Um,
Oh, that's so cool.
So I guess one last question before I let you go, and I just
Mhm.
lost the title of it, and that's embarrassing. You
Mhm.
just I write a lot about short films for the website.
Oh,
I think the
cool.
medium is very, very unique. I'm sort of obsessed with short filmmaking, and I know that you are in and you produced a short film called This Is Their Land.
That's right. Yeah.
And I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about that, because when I saw that like on your IMDb page, I was very
Mhm.
excited. So just tell me as much as you can about that, because I want to see it now already.
Yeah. So This Is Their Land was actually my senior thesis film that
Oh.
we finished. We shot last year.
Hmm.
Um, and it's about the Modoc War of
Hmm.
1872 to 1873 between the Modoc people and the U.S. Army. And it's this incredible true story where the Modoc were able to hold off the entire U.S. Army for
Yeah.
about 9 months.
Wow.
And and so I was a producer on this project, and we shot it where the war actually took place,
Mm.
and we had direct descendants involved in the project, and half the film, a little more than half the film, is in the traditional Modoc language.
Mm.
So we really want to talk about language revitalization in that as well. And I'm just incredibly proud of this project. And we are submitting to festivals now. We have been
Okay.
officially selected for our first one, which is the Klamath International Film Festival, which is
Okay.
in Klamath Falls, Oregon, which is
Okay.
right where we shot the film. We were kind of connected with them, and they really liked how it came out. So that is our first. But yeah, still doing some final touches on it,
Hmm.
and I'm just incredibly proud of it. It should be coming out next year. We're submitting it to festivals now, and
Okay.
yeah, I'm. It's the project means so much to me because everyone that worked on it, almost everyone that worked on it for free and
Wow.
donated their time. My dad is in it.
Hmm.
A bunch of my friends volunteered their time to be in it, and it's a powerful, powerful story. And I'm really excited to kind of lift this rather untold history
Hmm.
to tell the story of an oppressed people.
Yeah, when I was reading about it, and then I started like doing a dive on like the history of it, and it's just
Hmm.
like, okay, this is clearly something that we need to know more about. So I was just
Hmm.
so like floored to see that um online. So yeah, I'm excited to hear more about that when it starts getting passed around at festivals. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited. I'll definitely have to. Yeah, well, I'll definitely have to connect about it. That'd be really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, of course. All right. Well, I know you are very busy with your production schedule, so I will let you go. Thank you so, so much for your time. And thank you for letting me like gush at you about Ghost just because I love it so, so much. So, I guess thank you, stay safe, and have a relaxing, super crazy work schedule. Yeah,
No, I appreciate you.
yeah,
Thank you so much. This has been a really, really fun interview, and
yeah.
thank you for being flexible. So
Oh
I
no,
really
of course.
appreciate it.